Hi, it's Tina Hamilton, and I have a very special guest here today. Her name is Janet Bernstein, and she's with the Organizing Professionals in Philadelphia.
Yeah, we're based on the main line, but we serve the entire Philadelphia area.
Oh, okay, great. And Janet's had this business since 2006, I think you
That's
said.
correct. Yeah,
And I'm going to let you tell the story, but you said you started it in New York.
right.
Yeah, so,
I started the business when we lived in New York for about 3 years,
okay.
and the my kids were in a small private school where each of the parents had to donate 3 hours of their time each week. So
Oh.
the school said, "Do you want to organize the school attic?" And I had no experience, and I said, "Sure, I can organize the school attic." It was my first foray into professional organizing.
Ah,
I
without realizing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Because
that's cool.
back in 2006, professional organizing wasn't really even a
Ah,
profession. It wasn't known as it is today.
sure.
I organized that and they were thrilled. I'd put in commercial shelving and labeled all the
Oh.
supplies. I mean, it was great, if I do say so myself. Then I thought, you know what, maybe there's something here as a job. My kids were little at the time, and I put myself on the school silent auction and I donated 4 hours of professional organizing time. The winning bidder was a Park Avenue socialite, and she was my first client.
Oh my,
So
it was meant to be. Talk
it
about.
was it was a good place to start. We got on really well. I helped organize her apartment, and then she moved into an even grander apartment on Park Avenue, and I helped her move and
Wow.
organize that. And a little business was born.
That is absolutely fascinating. It really does feel like the universe like created that for you. Like or opened the
Yeah,
door and you. So when you decided to start, because I think that's the hardest thing for people, like starting
right.
and that trust in yourself that you have the wherewithal to start a business. I often say to people, because I've had multiple businesses, like if I sat and ever thought about starting one of those businesses, like
Mhm.
I'm not saying thought about the business, I'm talking about like thought about the immense responsibility of starting a business, I probably never would have. It was just like, here's an idea, I'm just going to do this.
Yes,
It wasn't like, let me think of how risky this is.
right.
I don't know. So what was it for you?
No, that is definitely the case because it was a part-time
Oh, that's
thing.
true. So
I
it's
didn't
a
have
big deal.
to the risk of leaving a job, and because I was living with my ex-husband at the time,
Oh,
and
okay.
so he had a full stable job, and so
Yeah.
this was a part-time gig. However, when we moved down to Philadelphia, we separated, and at that point I
Oh,
was in financial problems.
yeah.
I
Okay.
hadn't finished my undergrad degree,
Okay.
so I had no education,
Yeah.
basically no money, and no job,
And no career.
no career. I ended up going back to the University of Pennsylvania. So they
Oh.
accepted me. I felt like I was the oldest undergrad. I was in my early 40s at the time, and
Oh, no kid. Oh, so this
yeah,
wasn't early in your life. This is really,
no,
yeah.
yeah. This was like last year.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Right.
So
I
I
wouldn't believe
finished.
you. Yeah. You look
So
amazing.
I thank you. I graduated from Penn
Okay.
and
Congratulations.
fully expected, thank you, to go into publishing. My degree was in English, and
Oh,
that was my trajectory. I was totally
okay.
going into publishing, only to find that nobody was going to hire someone more than an entry level job, and I
Oh,
couldn't afford to, at that point,
yeah.
have an entry level job. So I thought, let me go back to the professional organizing. Maybe there's something there. And I thought to myself, I'll give it 2 years, 2 years, and if I can make a go of it, great. I
And you
got,
were not taking business courses at
I had
University of Penn, or
no, not at
because
all.
that wasn't your
That would have
trajectory.
been smart. That
Right.
would have been really a good
That would have been
idea.
really convenient. Yeah.
But no, I took English classes
Right.
in
Yeah.
creative writing, but which
Well,
is
writing, I
still,
guess, could
yeah.
help, but yeah, right. Yeah.
So I took all of that, um, and I got I got very lucky very early on. I got some great PR. Even with under a year under my belt, I was named best professional organizer by Philadelphia Magazine. And
Wow.
that's like the golden ticket in Philadelphia to
Is
get
it?
one of those. Oh yeah,
I can see why,
yeah,
and especially the areas that you said
yeah,
you were on the main line. I mean,
right,
that's a place where else would you go, right?
right.
Yeah.
So that was helpful, and then I also realized this was my sweet spot. I love organizing. I love helping people, And what I realize now is I love running a business and growing a business.
Mm.
So I'd found my niche of all things. So actually, the publishing thing would not have been great for me long term.
Isn't it amazing? I mean, you went through a divorce and
Hmm.
this is the result. It's like the world had a plan for you, whatever it is that you believe in, and you I think the difference between an entrepreneur and a non-entrepreneur is you just took it,
Yeah,
right? Like you didn't.
right. And also because I think I had no other options.
Yes, and then there's
So,
that. Then there's that.
so it
That'll
was
do
like
it.
it was this or I'm not quite sure what. So
This is
I
great.
decided to make a go out of this. And
And you started, and how did
yeah,
you? So, how did you start getting more and more clients? Because even though they can refer you and all that, somebody has to need it, right?
right. I started off, it was word of mouth in New York. And then when I came down here, some of my New York clients had friends and family here.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
that was helpful. So that was a word of mouth. I got a website going. This is probably in 2010, probably. And that was helpful. So it was just one thing after another. And at the time, it was just me. I only had to support myself.
Right.
Then few years down the road and I had more clients than I could handle and then I realized okay it's time for me to start hiring. And my husband now, my new husband who I'm going to keep, he's wonderful. So
That's great.
I'll keep him. He had a friend and he would say, Bob, his name was Bob. He grew up with Bob. It's like, Bob's wife is really organized. And I was like, okay, great. And he kept telling me this. And finally I met with Bob's wife and thought she was absolutely wonderful. And she came on board. And we
She was
have
your first employee?
she was pretty much my first employee. And over time I realized we had polar opposite skill sets.
Perfect.
So,
Wow.
absolutely. So I was very good at coming up with creative ideas of marketing and let's do this and let's try that. And she was, as they call it, a visionary and an
Integrator,
integrator.
yeah.
So she was my integrator. So I'd come up with these ideas, and eventually, instead of her having her own organizing clients, I said I need someone to answer the phones, do all of the scheduling, send out the proposals. And so she decided to stay home and do that. And then we really saw some traction after that.
Okay. Wonderful. So that having that person to offset your skills was everything.
Oh, 100%
A lot of people
everything.
don't think about that when they start a business. I had the
Right.
exact same situation. Um, I went out and actually looked for somebody because I knew where I was weak. I owned a business previously. I knew where my weak spots were, and I got so lucky that I found that person. But that's everything.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that, there's too many holes, and things will fall apart. Because you're moving, especially a new business. Or I know you weren't brand new, but you were starting to grow.
Hmm.
There's too many bowls
Right.
in the right to hang on to. Somebody has to. You have to have somebody you trust.
Yeah.
So wow, boy, so your new husband really was like all of it happened for a
Well, yeah, let's not
reason.
give him too much credit
Yeah.
because keep saying I keep owing him, but no, it was really
But him
really helpful.
mentioning that, like, and then you're meeting this person and being
Yeah.
open to it. So okay, so you two are in there now, you're growing, and now you have a lot more employees,
Now
right?
we have 15
Wow.
employees. I think we're the largest move management company, professional organizing company in the greater Philadelphia
Is
area.
that right?
Yeah. Thank
Congratulations.
you. And we're still growing. There's plenty of people out
Sure.
there that need to move, need to get their homes organized, and we can help them all.
Tell a little bit about what exactly you do. You said there's three, you had told me earlier, there's three services, right?
Right. So we specialize in residential organizing. So
Okay.
clients can hire us even if they're not moving, they want to get maybe their entire house is just there's no systems in place. It's just this they've never spent the time to really figure out, okay, this makes the most sense for my kitchen to be organized this way
Right.
and my closet to be this way. So we will come in and help them declutter if it needs decluttering and then put organizing systems in place that work for them.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's an entire family, that everyone knows where things go, because we can come in and organize a place, but if the client doesn't keep it up, it will it
I
will
was going to
fall
say
apart.
there's some people I know, I won't name names, that are not organized, not neat and clean, just they're more relaxed. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I actually envy them because I'm the opposite of that. But what What do you do for those kind of people? Like, how do you educate them or?
We do. Well, I mean, if someone is content in their home, even if it's not
No.
organized, they're probably not calling us.
Oh, that's a good point.
However, it could be a married couple or a
Oh,
couple living together, and one is stressed out because the home is chaotic and the other one's completely fine with it. And it's almost like therapy. We're coming in
right.
and we're trying to do some counseling there because it's very important to one, but not so important to the other.
But you're saving them from that argument or whatever, or
Absolutely.
that stressor.
Yes, definitely.
So you're almost like saving marriages
There's
in a
a
little way, in a
there's a
little way.
lot of psychology that goes into what we do.
Oh,
For
is
sure.
there?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. And
Absolutely.
did you learn that over time with the business?
Yeah, I guess. I
Yeah.
mean, I love helping people.
Yeah,
And so
can see that.
when you love helping people, you want to meet them where they're at.
Yeah,
And if you go into someone's home and you know that they want to live in a more organized house,
yeah.
but they have a hard time parting with things, then we try
Oh,
and figure out
right.
the root of that. Well, why is that hard for you?
Do you?
Yeah,
Have
absolutely.
you had anybody that's like a hoarder or borderline hoarder?
In the beginning,
Yeah.
when I didn't know any better,
Oh.
and I realized
Ah.
it was an emotional disorder or issue that I wasn't
Yeah,
equipped to deal with, and
sure,
neither is my team. So we don't work with bona fide hoarders. A lot of people throw that term around loosely,
sure.
where they usually mean that they're just pack rats, and we can work all the time with a pack rat. A pack rat is willing to let things go, but someone who's a
Ah.
hoarder will not
And
release.
you can't, right.
No.
And you would lose because even if you got them organized soon later, it would just get
Yeah,
unorganized and then that,
exactly.
right, they would not value you. So
Yeah,
there's no point.
right.
I can see that. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So you have that, you have the people that are organizing, and then the
Mhm.
moving and the senior moving, I think you
Mhm.
mentioned
Right.
earlier.
Then we can do full scale moves, what we call like white glove move management, soup to nuts. So, say someone is about to put their house on the market, but the realtor knows it needs to look a certain way for photographs.
Yeah.
We can come in, work with the clients, help them declutter it, and make it look perfect with their existing furniture. So it's staged for the photos. Once it's sold, we'll come back. We can pack up the entire home. And if it's a local move in the greater Philadelphia area, we can unpack and completely set up. So the client doesn't need to pack a single box, lift a finger. They can walk in even after a week's vacation to their new place and it's completely set up and
Think
organized.
about the amount of time that you are saving people. It's endless.
They say that moving is the third most stressful life event.
Right.
And you can see that. We see that all the time. So to be able to come in and help clients
Just
with
have
that.
it done because you're working, your life doesn't stand still during that
No,
period.
absolutely
And
not.
you got to start packing usually weeks, if not months in advance.
Yeah.
And then the unpacking, you don't even remember what's in what or whatever if you didn't organize it right. And
Yeah.
plus, once you're in a new house, you might change your mind about how you want things or whatever. But you're helping make all those decisions up front. You're discussing it with the client, I imagine.
Right. It will definitely get their input if they want to. Some
Mhm.
clients will be completely hands off and they'll say,
Ah.
just put things, unpack and put it
Wow.
where you want.
Wherever you want,
Yeah, as long
because they know that you're going to recommend the best things.
Right. We've been doing this hundreds and hundreds of times now. We've had more than 1,000 clients at this point.
Wow, that's so
So
impressive. And do you organize the furniture too? Like,
we can
yeah.
do digital floor plans, so we can take the measurements. We can make sure that everything fits where it
Right.
should, because that's the worst thing. If you've got a sofa coming in from your old place and it just doesn't fit, then what are you going to do?
It happened to me. I moved into a very old house built in the 1800s, and my bed, which I loved, it was really good bed. It didn't bend, so the base, so they couldn't go up and around the corner,
Right.
and that was the end. I had to sell it. Like
Oh,
there was
no.
and I used a company, but they didn't think about that piece of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, that was not a happy day for me because I love that bed. Now you have an additional expense and a hassle.
Right. Where are
Right.
you going to put it?
Yeah,
Right.
where are you going to put that
Where are you going
bed?
to donate it?
Yeah, right. So it's a beautiful business. It feels like something that it's that people. It sounds luxurious, but at the same time, if the amount of time and hours and mind space that is no longer needs to happen over the course of the next few months, it just makes perfect sense.
Right.
If you can put dollars to your time and you can somehow make that up. Like it's so worth it.
I should use my PR company.
Yeah.
That's very succinctly put. Thank you very
I
much.
mean, right, because I value time,
Yeah.
and I totally understand your business. It's just wonderful. It's necessary, especially for busy people.
Hmm.
Um, so, and we were talking a little bit earlier. Part of your business is definitely affected, because we are here to talk about business, um, by real estate or other economic
Right.
conditions.
The moving part for sure, because
Hmm.
if there's less people moving, there's less houses on the
Right.
market, that is definitely impacted. We're very fortunate that we're also specialized in senior move management, and
Yeah.
seniors have to move whether the market is good or bad.
Right.
And usually they're not, the interest rates are not, they're not impacted because usually they've sold, their
Right.
mortgages have
And
been
if they're
paid
senior
off.
move, they have to move, right? Like
Right.
so, and then are you
Exactly.
often dealing with the kids, like the adult kids, or sometimes dealing with the adult kids?
Yes, yes,
Hmm.
which can be good or it can be bad.
Yeah.
It depends. But one of my favorite clients was a couple that called us up several years ago, and she said, Janet, my husband and I are spry 80-year-olds, and we've been living in our home for 50 years,
Mm.
and the only things we've thrown out are the kids.
I love them already. Oh my gosh.
They're
They really are
wonderful.
spry. They're not kidding
Oh,
around.
and she was not kidding. I mean, she was not
Oh,
kidding. They
she
weren't.
literally kept every
Yeah,
single.
yeah.
So she wasn't a
She
hoarder.
wasn't a hoarder because she was willing to let go, and they were
Oh.
moving to a retirement community,
Oh.
and they had to let
Like
things
retirement
go.
community is usually much smaller,
Of
right?
course, yeah, like a third of the size. They were
So how
such a
do you do that? What was that? I can't remember her
Marie
last.
Kondo.
Yeah, where you used to be like, do you love it or whatever that thing was that she used to do?
Well, yeah, yes and no, because
Okay.
in that situation, if we were picking up every single
Oh, that's
item and
true.
asking if it was sparking joy, I'd still be there. So that would be a lot. That would be a lot of
Right.
work.
So
So
how do you just a little tip, like a tip for the people listening that have I would imagine a lot of people have elderly parents that I've been through that. Sometimes they don't want to leave the house and you're
yes,
dealing with that stress. That is immense stress, but it's for their safety. They have to go.
right.
And then now you're getting rid of their stuff that they don't want to get rid of any of it because they didn't want to move in the first place. So,
It is extremely difficult for adult children to
mhm.
work with parents. It's the emotional issues
Oh,
are
right.
so hard because you're flipping the turntable, right? You're flipping. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, the adult child is becoming the parent and
Yeah.
telling and dictating what's going on, and you get so much resistance from the parents. Doesn't matter if they're in their 80s; they still want to feel in control and independent.
Sure.
So that's why bringing in professionals where we're removed from the emotional aspect is really, really helpful.
Yeah. So you can almost be like a inner, you're not obviously a psychologist or anything like that, nor you do probably want to be that, but you could be that person in the middle to help
Yeah, definitely.
because they can look at you as a professional
Right.
and
So it's
trust you.
it's yes, that is definitely more helpful.
I can see that. That boy, that's like an added bonus when
Yeah.
you're using somebody like you for that. And then help them, I guess, deal with like, how do you help somebody deal with letting go of the boxes? I'm assuming boxes of kids' drawings and things like that.
So many different ways. If it's furniture, and for a lot of older people, they have major collections. They entertained in a way
Yeah.
that maybe we don't. So they've got
Oh,
gorgeous china. Nobody wants these things anymore. There's no market for it.
really? Oh,
Yes,
that's so
it's
sad.
very sad. So that's part of what we bring to the table as well, is explaining, I'm so sorry, but there is no market for most of the china, the furniture, and that's always a hard conversation to have.
And so they end up donating it or
Right. And so we have a good idea, especially in the Philadelphia area, of who takes what, whether it's auction houses, whether it's furniture
all right, because
consignment
they could
places.
do consignment and make some money at
If
least on it
if there's a market for them, if the
if
auction
it's not
place,
too dated
yes. Yeah.
or worn or whatever.
Yeah. And half the time we have to explain to them you've had it for several years, if not decades. It had a
Right.
good life with you. You enjoyed it, and now it's time to let it go and let somebody else
Oh, that's
enjoy it.
beautiful.
That's what we try and tell people anyway.
But no, I don't want to. Right. I mean, I'm the opposite of a hoarder. I get rid of stuff really quick, but the stuff I have, like, I never want to let it go. And
Yeah. So one thing that I use with a lot of people is I will say, if you love it, need it, or use it, then keep it. But if you don't love, need, or use it, it doesn't deserve a place in your home.
Oh,
So it's got to fall into one of those three categories:
love
love it,
it,
need
need
it,
it,
or use it.
or use it.
Yeah. And then what I also say is, if you have multiples of the same thing as well, why do you have that?
Right.
And that's always an issue because you've got all of these things and they're in perfectly good working order, but you really need, I don't know, 6 spatulas for goodness sake,
Right.
right? But they're all
And
perfectly great.
well, that's the generation. My dad would
Yes.
say, it's brand new. In 1970, it was brand new. But in this decade, it is no longer brand new. But he couldn't understand why you
Right.
would ever get rid of 7
Exactly.
hammers or
Exactly.
25 wrench. He had a lot of tools and things like that. And it's
Right.
like they were good. He was right. There was nothing wrong with them.
But if you don't have the space, then it becomes a math problem. Containerize it somewhere. The math doesn't work. You're going to have to let it go.
Right. That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Wow, you could probably do lessons. You could probably do webinars or something and teach people how to get rid of stuff. I imagine.
Yeah.
Because I think most people, other than that, love it or the Maria Kondo. But didn't she end up after she had kids? She said, "Yeah, this isn't reality."
I think she did say that.
Right.
That made the rest of us feel a little bit better.
Yeah, she is human. Not everything's perfect. I love it. So now you're going to continue to grow. You have 14 employees. You've been in business since 2006.
Mm-hmm.
You moved from New York. Well, actually, originally you said England.
Yes, originally I'm from England. Yeah.
And here you are in Philadelphia. This is your home now.
Yep. Don't plan on going anywhere else. I love Philly. It's wonderful.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And you're serving clients all over Philly, and this is your place, and it's beautiful because as a business person, you can focus in on one area, right? Get referrals continuously. It's beautiful.
Plenty of people need organizing. They're moving, and so I think, like a lot of people, depending on their businesses right now, they have to deal with the impacts of AI and all of these things. That's not something that we see as an issue for us because we're a professional services company, and until robots can start working with clients and physically doing the packing, the unpacking, the organizing, I think we're safe for a while.
That's true. If anything, the AI could help you with the organizing, eventually. Not the organizing, the planning of design or something like that. But otherwise, there still needs to be a person behind it, right? Yeah. Always. And then doing it, right? Yeah. Like you said, the robots are probably not coming anytime soon.
Yeah, fingers crossed anyway.
Yeah, right. Right. Same here, by the way. Human resources. Yeah. Need people. So what would you say to end it? What would you say either was your biggest inspiration in your business or your biggest lesson in business that you would want to share with people that are like you, that wanted to start? And by the way, I don't remember if you shared that you started just because you were out there and needed a job and you had this opportunity, right? And you just started doing it. Not everybody has it in them to do that. So what inspired you, and what lesson, or either one, or what lesson would you say is your biggest lesson?
I think there's many times owning a business is an emotional roller coaster.
Oh, yes.
And that takes a while to get over, I think, is understanding, am I going to make it? Am I not going to make it? And so you sort of live like this until you've got a few years under your belt and you've got good records of how things have progressed, good financial records, and you realize I'm going to be fine.
Yeah.
And it's a lull right now. On those lull days when you just feel like a complete failure, you have to realize, okay, I've got several years under my belt here. It might be a slow time right now, but I'm not going to self-pity. I'm going to use the slow time to really focus and strategize. And that is a hard lesson, I think, because you've got to overcome a mindset of like, ugh, I don't feel like doing anything. The phone's not ringing. What am I gonna do?
Right.
But to use that slow time to go, I'm gonna be fine. This is a gift right now. Let me use this time to read, to strategize, to think of new ways to drum up business.
Yeah, that's great advice, because you're gonna have it.
Yes.
There's nobody what goes up must come down, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's business in general. So, well, you've done such a great job. I think probably a lot of people look up to you, I would imagine, at building such a beautiful business. Didn't you say you think you might be the largest in the Philadelphia area? Because you have 14 employees and still growing and still evolving. I'm just It's super impressive what you've
Thank you.
built.
Thanks so
Yes.
much.
I'm so glad you were here. Thank you for
No, it's
joining
my
us.
pleasure. I really enjoyed
Oh,
getting to know you too.
great. Thank you.